the Faroe Islands. Some of you think I'm Danish, which is true. I mean, Denmark is, well, the Faroe Islands are part of Denmark. The Faroe Islands is not anywhere close to Denmark. They're closer to Iceland, or the Shetland Islands, or Greenland, so they're right in the middle of there. And that's where I'm from. I have been lecturing quite a bit over the last 10 years, and most people now, they call me, well, don't ever call me an academic, because that's definitely not what I am. I've never been to school. And some of you would say, oh, come on, you have been to school, because you think that I must have been to school because I've been teaching at Princeton and Howard and Kellogg and the universities like University and various other fancy places, Stanford, blah, 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 all these places. So you would say, oh, you must have been to school. But really, I've never been to school. I grew up on the Faroe Islands, and there was no schools. So, and then my family moved to Denmark, and I was enrolled in a rural Steiner school, and that's hardly not a school. And then I was kicked out of the rural Steiner school, and I've never managed to get back into any school system ever since that. So in that respect, I've never been to school. So whatever I say now, I mean, if you think, oh, that's a clever guy. I've never been. I'm 100% from the streets. Now you would say, you're laughing a little bit because you're like from the streets, yeah, right, from the Faroe Islands, that whole thing. But it's because you've been Americanized. It's because you think the street is something like MWA, like coming straight from the streets and that sort of thing. But I mean, I'm 100% from the streets. I'm educated on the streets. I've never been to school. I never managed to get into any education system. I tried to enroll myself in the art academy when I was young, and I was told I had absolutely no talent. Later on, I tried to enroll myself in the Royal Academy of Music in Denmark, but I had absolutely no talent either, I was told. I also tried to make it into King's College here in London, well, here in London, I say that because I'm in English, I'm messing around, don't worry. I mean, I speak terrible English, as you can say, but they told me I couldn't be there because I spoke what they call colonial English. Excellent. So that's me. So, I mean, I can't even speak. Some people say I speak quite a few languages, but really I only speak one language, and I mean, it's I just use more English words when I speak now. So I actually speak like very a bit more English words than I understand. So yeah, I mean, I am terrible, but anyway. See, I'm here to talk about something which is controversial. Now, some of you would say, come on, it's not that controversial, but really what I'm going to talk about now is controversial. And the reason why it's controversial is that it got me kicked out as a teacher from the Royal Academy of Music in Denmark. And also because I got kicked out of King's College for what I'm about to talk about now. And this is the last lecture I'm going to do for a while, because after this lecture, I'll be going to jail for what I'm about to say now. And you're like, no, that can't be true. You're like, that is, of course, a gimmick. But it is true. Tomorrow I'm going to take a plane out of here and fly to Denmark, and I'm going to turn myself in, and I will be staying at least 1 or 2 nights over in jail for this table and this lecture. And that's true. You say, it can't be true. But that's basically where we are going. I'm going to tell you why it ended there. But let's start out here. See, since it's almost the last lecture, we can, it's on request basically, so you can say which way you want it. If you would like the boring but interesting, but a little bit, I mean it's boring but it's good boring, that you read a book while I play music, then we can go for that solution. If you want the I draw on the floor solution, we can go for that solution too. Or if you want freestyle, we can go for that solution too. Which one you like? Yeah?
Freestyle. Freestyle.
Okay. So here we go. Now, let's see where we start. See, then we have to be on the floor. And that's where the freestyle starts. And I'll be up here. Okay. See, I was, as I told you, I've never been to any school, so I had to take care of myself. And when I was 16 years old, I was thrown out of school because I had managed to make myself a key to the physics room and had started to make explosives. And we blew up like roundabouts and other small parts of roundabout I blew up. And we got to the papers and things. It was action-packed years. But when the school found out that that was what we were doing in the physics room, after the key, so we could lock ourselves in after the school was closed, then they were like, this is no good, get out. And then I went out, anyway, so I've never been to school, so I had to make an income somehow, and I decided that I was relatively good at computers, so I got a job as a programmer for Lego, the brick company, and I was working on that thing called Lego Mindstorms, which is this Mindstorm robotic building set where you can, they said you could make robots, but you could basically make automata. But it's a dummy, right? It's part of it when you do it. It doesn't matter. Anyway, see, I did that, and then I was later on employed by Nokia, and I worked on cell phones, and that's the last part of my teenage years. I was what you today call a nerd, and in those days it wasn't fancy. I mean, it was, but anyway, I made my own living and blah blah. And aside from that, I made techno music, as they say in Holland. They can't say the T, but they say techno. I like that one, techno. So I was that's all. I mean, I was relatively successful. I mean, I managed to travel around the world and blah blah blah, and play my music and these sort of things. And I mean, I moved here. I moved to London when I was 19 years old, and I think it went all right. But I was also terribly self-destructive. I throw myself out of windows, out of cars, whatever I could throw. I had a bad habit of throwing myself out of whatever I could throw myself out of. It was all right. I mean, I'm not going to tell. I mean, this is how it was. And so I had a successful music career, if you like, but I also had action-packed life, and that's all right. I'm not the first person in the world to have that, so that's nothing interesting there. The only reason why I'm telling you that is because I'm going to tell you how I got my first lecture ever. And that happened because in 2000, I think it was 2002 or 2003, with the F notes, but it doesn't really matter. I was in Hackney, and the reason why I was in Hackney was because I had moved out of London and moved back to the Faroe Islands, and there was an American lady that had moved into a place in Hackney, which I knew people living, a flat share sort of thing. And she had lived there for a whole year, and when she wanted basically to go back to America, I decided, well, I should probably pay her a visit. Why not? I mean, I decided to pay her a visit, and I came to her house. And I realized one of my Scottish friends, called Alan Golden, was going out with her. And that was fine. I had no problem with that. It was all right. And he was a good friend of mine, so wow. And he was a kind of shy computer guy, too. He had never had a girlfriend, so that's complicated. But Alan had another friend, which was called Alan, his best friend. And there was an Alan, and there was an Alan, so there was double Alan. And his best friend were charmeur. He was a charlatan. He was the ladies' man. And throughout the night, the other Alan kind of took shy Alan's girlfriend over to her and was knocking her in the kitchen and things like that. Rock and roll, useful lifestyle. And I didn't like that. I mean, I didn't. I thought there was something wrong because this is the lot of little shy Alan's life I saw. So I tried to stand up and say, no. But I had also been influenced by alcoholic drinks at the time. I usually don't drink, but when I drink, I drink quite a bit. That's why I don't drink, because I usually end up in the hospital if I drink. But anyway, I had drunk alcohol that night. And I was drunk. Not that drunk. But these Alans were actually both nerds. But there was the clever and the shy Alan. The clever Alan was so clever that he actually had a PhD in artificial intelligence or something which I went way over my head. And he started saying reasons why he could take Alan's girlfriend. And he started to talk about quantum physics, and I was like, and I didn't understand any of it. So I was like, but I also knew that I couldn't argue. First of all, my English wasn't that good. Secondly, I was very drunk. And what should I do? So I decided to say, oh, I would rather jump out the window than listening to your crap. And he was like, and then I just opened the window and jumped out. It wasn't a big thing, goodbye or anything. And I fall quite far and broke both my legs and both my arms, and I mean, it was relatively bad hurt. Anyway, that's where the story starts. And I got out of the hospital, wounded all over, and for some weird reason, I decided to cash out my last money and go to America. And why I did that was a stupid idea. But anyway, I flew to New York, and I was supposed to play a gig at a venue called Tonic. It's closed now. It was a place that was the place, not the knitting factory, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, it's not the place anymore. I was supposed to I performed a terrible gig there, and I think I had an idea that I should go on tour, but I was way too old. So it didn't happen. I couldn't really tour at the time, and I had a broken leg and all these things, so I decided to stay in New York for a while. And I heard there was a lecture in Princeton, and that lecture I wanted to go to. So I decided that I wanted to get on the train, and I went to New Jersey and to Princeton, and decided to do this lecture at Princeton. Oh, sorry, I didn't decide to go to this lecture. And the lecture was cancelled. And I was like, oh. And then they asked me, and I'll never forget them for that. They said, why don't you do the lecture instead? And that was my very first lecture, and that was at Princeton. And I did the lecture, and I heard, I didn't dare to look at anybody. I still don't dare to look at anybody. I'm a very shy person. And I started to hear, like, cheers going, and everybody left the room. And it was a big disaster. It was a terrible lecture. And afterwards, I was accused of being pro-Israeli Nazi and things like that. I was being accused of being old Europe, wanking, blah, blah, blah. These all, everything that, I was very, anyway, so I remember sitting in the cantina, being like, oh, I should go, out windows, broken legs, blah, 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 these whole things. And a friend of mine's phone rang, and it was from Brown University. And they asked if I wanted to go and do the same lecture there because they heard it was so bad that they said it can't be that bad. So it was, that is America. That is the cool part of America. That is, I can make fun of America, but that is, come on, nobody else would. King's College would never do that. We heard there was a really bad lecture somewhere in Sheffield. Shouldn't we get that person down? This would never happen. But anyway, so that's, I don't know. So I went to Brown University and did my lecture, and remember to say, what I'm about to say now is not meant to harm any blah, 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 or make fun of any blah, 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 blah. And the lecture went much better. Because you have to warn people when, in America before you start, because else they might take it serious. You have to say, well, this is not. You should say, well, you have to, say, this is not coffee. You have to write that on your cheek. That's how it is. You have to do that. Okay, anyway, so here it gets very interesting. Because I managed to basically sneak around inside the academic system of America, and before I went back to Europe, I had lectured at quite a few of the Ivy League schools, etc., and was a fancy player in the academic world, although, I was straight from the streets. They just didn't know. The Americans didn't know. They thought it was, so anyway, I came back to Europe at a time where a lot of things in Europe were about to change. A lot of new people were going into power in politics, and blah, 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 blah. And Scandinavia, it was exactly the same. And I came back to Scandinavia at a time where there was a new government. And that new government wanted to get rid of some of the terrible, crazy, ugly, disgusting parts of what socialistic Denmark had produced. One of the things that they wanted to get rid of was a thing called DM. And this is very interesting. DM is something that every single city in Europe had since the 50s. That was the Danish Institute of Electroacoustic Music. And you would probably call that, today, you would file that under a media lab. But the idea was that if you wanted to work with new media, you could, there was no way that everyday person had money to work with new sort of synthesizers, etc. So you could basically fill in a form and say, I have this idea for a piece. And you could handle it in to the Danish Institute of Electroacoustic Music, and there would be some weird board that would say, I think this person's allowed to work with this. And then we'd give the 2 weeks, and there would be no money involved, but you would have a technician, and blah, 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 and then they probably would broadcast it somewhere on the national radio. And every single country in Europe believes that they were the only country that had such a studio. Germany, if you ever had, there was this great studio where Karl-Heinz Stockhausen worked. England never had anything like it. The Swedes are like, the M studio is so amazing that only because of the Swedish socialism, we were the only place that could, etc., etc., etc. Come on, there's thousands of these studios, but this was the place where it was all at. And now it was supposed to be closed. And that's basically where trouble starts. See, some fancy powers inside political boring system of European education decided to make a school for electronic music, because there was quite a few Danes that were doing wannabe electronic music, which was imitating English music. That sort of thing. And the Danes loved that. And the Danes wanted so badly to be your kind. But not only the Danes, the Swedes were in the same situation as the Norwegians. And I came back from America and had done all my lectures, and they were like, you are the guy that's going to teach not only the Danes, but the Swedes and the Norwegians how to do the. But that was in 2003. And as you all know, the was already gone in 2003. Just only the stupid Scandinavians didn't know. There was no way that any of the Scandinavians could ever get a record out of Warp Records or something, because Warp Records at the time were already. I mean, there's no way that the Swedish or the Danes or the Norwegians could be mates with Isaac's twin, because he had already bought a house in the countryside. It was way out. I mean, so only the Danes. I mean, they didn't know that. It was terrible. So I became the teacher, the first teacher to teach electronic music, history, composition, and aesthetics at the new DM, which was under the Royal Academy of Music, which was the place to teach composition, basically. And I was the person that was supposed to tell my students that the dreams were long gone. My students didn't believe that. Anyway, so I got 12 Scandinavian students. 12 Scandinavian students thrown in my head. And I had to talk to them. And every single one of them had an idea that they could do the. And every single one of them didn't know that the dream was long gone. And that's basically what I have to tell them. But they kind of knew. They kind of knew that it wasn't there. The reason why they didn't know it wasn't there, I mean, they hoped it was still there, but it didn't really, they kind of. So you could feel and sense the despair, the sadness, they hoped it was there, but it was long gone. And that was the thing. And in 2003, there had been another wave, which was the American wave. Some of them wanted to do the Kid 606, which in 2003 was also way. Anyway, so I kind of sensed that, because they still just tried to do that, but didn't believe in it any longer, that we could say that they basically had no utopian dreams any longer, or that utopia seemed to be gone. Utopia seemed to be no more inside the world of computer music. In Scandinavia, of course. Only in Scandinavia. But see, I travel quite a bit. And I play, or at the time, you would probably call this, you'd probably say this is not music what I'm doing right now, it's lecturing. It doesn't matter what you would find out. I do show up at pubs, bars around the Western world, and I do my thing there. And there was quite a bit of music going on. And I started to sense that utopia seemed to be gone. Not only in Scandinavia, but also other places. I was great friends with artists like That Politics. And around 2003, every time they performed, they were like, come on. That's all. But they didn't really believe in it any longer. They knew that the new record wouldn't sell as much as the last one, that the only thing they could hope for was getting on a tour that would be a little bit smaller. And they all said, oh, we cannot move to Paris any longer, but we're going to move to Berlin. It's going to be all right because it's cheaper. I thought it was But actually, I was also employed in Germany to teach media art in late 2003. Media. At some fancy school, let's not mention names because this is not a name dropping place, but some fancy institute of blah 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 blah. And every single one of my German students, which were working in video and things like that, also seemed to have a utopia seems to be gone inside the world of media art too. And now you would say, how could that be that the utopia was both gone inside the world of computer music? It's just a feeling I had. But now I moved to Scandinavia and Germany and blah blah. It kind of seemed like it wasn't there. Warp Records at these days were releasing Vincent Gallo. Question. Right? Where's the dream? So, and it might be interesting to say, well, maybe utopia is really gone inside the world of computer music and media, and maybe we should try to bring it back. It's just an idea. Well, let's try to bring it back. And that's where trouble really starts to come along. They're like, no way. But, I was a teacher, so I said, yes way, as they say in America. you can answer no way with wait. That's very English. No way, wait. Anyway, so I decided that maybe I should try to bring utopia back in at least to my students. Anyway, so I decided to basically say, what is computer music? It's relatively easy to see what computer music is, because that must be music made with computers. I mean, everybody will agree that computer music is music made on computers. And it kind of makes sense, because it's not only music made on computers, but also music that seems to have an approach which deals with aesthetics of computing in some way. This is the old question that everybody would say, but everybody uses computer today, so why is it that Madonna is not computer music? And sure, it is made as computer music, but it don't have a futuristic approach necessarily, and that's why some people would say that an art group like the Human League or something would sound more futuristic, or would be more filed on a computer, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. We don't have to go into aesthetics here. In that respect, we just say that, well, computer music must be music made on computers. So what is media art? Well, that must be art based on media, right? And then we say, which sort of media? We say, question mark here. What sort of media? That's an interesting question. Now, see, a typical piece of media art, usually I can talk about this for hours, what media art is, but a typical piece of media art, I've seen quite a bit. So I've made a joke about media art. Generally speaking, media art must be art based on media, and therefore we can say, which sort of media are in use? And usually, the place to be for media art is not in this country, but is in Austria at a festival called Ars Electronica. That festival is the place for media art. That is the media art festival. And I actually won a prize there once, and therefore I decided, well, once in a while I'm invited to go back and perform some music or something, and so I've seen a lot of top-notch media art. And usually, so I made a joke of what a typical media art piece is. Typical media art is made by Americans or Canadians. You would say, why is that? And someone would say, oh, some of us can also do that. Sure you can, and you can count yourself in as English, but generally speaking, there's not that many Italian words. And the reason why is because manuals are harder to read in a foreign language than in English. I mean, so if you get the new Photoshop, you have you have like 1 month, you're 1 month ahead in reading the manual of the Italian, which is like, so it takes a little longer for that. Another thing is, computers is distributed first in America, and then they come over here. It's a Macintosh, and Macintosh computers are always the choice of the pro media artist. That's big deal. Anyway, so typical media art piece is that you come into a room, and there'll be a giant projection here, very fancy projection up here, and somebody will stand here and talk about this. Well, what you see up here is like all these things just move up around up here. You can see this giant landscape here. You can see there's 2 birds there. There's more than 2 birds. You can see a whole flock of birds in here. You can see this polygon landscape here. And you can imagine this sort of projection. Now the media artists will say, well, actually, you see the birds out there. You think they're just birds, but they're actually connected to the stock market. You're like, oh, interesting. They're connected to the stock market over the internet. You're like, oh, wow. And it's like, and you see 2 birds are fighting there, and that is because the currency of Iceland is falling down rapidly at the moment. And from an art critic perspective, you would say, what a sucky piece of art. You would say, this is a sucky piece of art. Why? And the media will then say, well, you might be right in that, but it needs a whole hell of a lot of technology. And that is the core element of media art. You can always sell media art on a technology card. You can always say, you might be right, it might be a little bit sucky, but at least it holds a hell of a lot of technology. Or, now it's easier to make. Every time you read an interview with a man which is a popular media artist, Chris Cunningham, always says like, oh, now it's much more easy to do. Oh, what I used to do back in but just 10 years ago, it's much more easy to do now. It's like, come on. So it's always technology to sell media. Now it's much easier to do them. Now it's much more. You can make techno records in 1 hour. That sort of thing. That's what media. I mean, media art is always sold on the technology card, and we can say which sort of technology? Question mark. And then we can look at this piece of media, and then we can imagine this big projection, and then we can go behind the projection, and what we see over here, a computer of some sort. That big projection is run by a computer, and this is interesting, because if we can see that there's a computer there, then we can sometimes say that there's a computer involved in computer music, and generally speaking, there must also therefore be a, well, if there's a computer behind most media, then there's also a computer inside media, which means there's a computer in media and there's a computer in computer music, which means that if utopia is formed inside the world of computer music and media, well, one of the interesting points to look might be the computer, and then basically start to look at the computer. And that's where things go horribly wrong in my life, when I decided that, say to my, let's look at the computer and say, what has the computer promised us, but have not given us? Instead of just being like, oh, whoa, I got the new iPad, whee, and saying, what has the computer, as a metaphor, promised us, but have not given us? And that's basically where the thing starts out. So, I asked every single one of my students around Europe, and I was teaching more places now than just at that time, than Scandinavia and Germany. I was also in Italy and blah, 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 blah. And that's not really the case. But my students around Europe, I asked my students to give me everything they could find inside the world of popular science, dealing with artificial or alternative intelligence. Right. That's basically what we did. See, if you ever listen to science programs from the 1950s, then something interesting happens. Most science programs in the 50s state that in about 20 years' time, their data machine, the EDB-Apparat, or the calculator, whatever it's called, the electronic brain, was some word over there, will be so smart that it can outsmart even a human brain. That was said in the 50s. Right. Now, if you don't believe that, the nice part is that we have the internet now, and a lot of public radio from the BBC, etc., is started to be online now. You can actually listen to radio from the 50s. And if you listen to radio, you can hear a science program saying, like, in about 20 years' time, the data machine, the EDB-Apparat, the electronic brain, or whatever, will be so advanced that it can outsmart even the human brain. Now, why did I write 1955 here? Well, the reason why I came up with this number is because, generally speaking, the history of modern computing starts out somewhere after the Second World War. Now, a lot of people say, no, actually, if you ever speak to Germans, they're like, that's not really true. There's a lot of things before that. That's some pride. That's some pride they have. And there's some pride that is based on the concept that there was some punch cards used to, for example, calculate people into concentration camps. It wasn't modern computing in the way we're talking about computers, generally speaking. Some Americans state that there was computers long before Second World War, even in America. But no, because you ever look at them, they're still talking punch cards, etc., etc., etc. So the first really computers that we can talk about happened somewhere after the Second World War. And if you ever speak to Russians, they always say, they come up with a magic number, and that is 1953. They always say that is the year where the first computer was invented, and it was in Moscow. Now, some of you here know that some of you will say, oh, no, that wasn't a computer. It was 1956. That was a real computer, or whatever. And this sort of thing. I mean, some people in America say it's 1954 when they talk about when the first computer was called. Yeah, let's just make it equal. Say 1955. And then basically listen to science programs in 1955. And most science programs say that in about 20 years' time, the data machine, the EDB-Apparat, or the electronic brain will be so advanced that we can outsmart the human brain. So then came the 60s. What are we talking in the 60s? We're talking Cold War. We're talking youth movements, beginning use action type. We're talking teenage culture. We're talking zippers in the pants. So you fasten, get the zippers off, the pants off, and check the ladies. We're talking chewing gum. We're talking a lot of things, and we're talking about in about 20 years' time. The data machine or the EDB-Apparat will be so advanced that it can outsmart the human brain. Lovely. Then came 1975. What are we talking? We're talking oil crisis. We're talking hippies. And a lot of you would say, no. What are you talking about? There was no hippies in the 70s. Wrong. See, we're talking on a European scale. Progressive hippies were around in the 60s. But these were the years where everybody was wearing Icelandic sweaters, smoking the fat bean, playing the guitar, rocking the stairways to heaven, reading Lord of the Rings. These are the years of terrible hippies. These are the years where everybody was hippieing around. And this is the year that people said about 20 years' time, they're data machine or the EDB apparatus or the electronic brain will be so advanced that it can outsmart the human brain. Then came the 80s, 1985. And 1985 is super interesting because we're talking the birth of home computing. We are talking cyberpunk. We're talking William Gibson. We're talking Spectrum. We're talking, when we talk Commodore 64. We're talking a lot of things, and we're talking about people that say in about 20 years' time, the data machine, the computer, and that was the word that has to be around this year, or the EDB apparatus or whatever will be so advanced that it can outsmart even a human brain. Then came 1995, and this was a year where every single one of my friends said, we're going to be millionaires. And I'm like, why are we going to be millionaires? We're going to be millionaires. Like, why are we going to be millionaires? We're going to be millionaires. I'm like, but why are we going to be millionaires? And they said, well, because we have an email address. And a lot of things were said here, but everybody knew that if you had an email address, that would be, then it was action packed. Some people got interviews by having email addresses. Mixmaster Morris was interviewed by the fact that he wrote his email address on the flip of a record. And he thought, there was interviews with me, how is it to have an email address? Anyway, and there was a lot of talk about these things, and generally people said, in about 20 years' time, this evolution will move so fast that the computer will be intelligent than the human brain. And then came 2005, and what happened in 2005? Question mark. And that's interesting, because what happened in 2005, I can't tell you, because I was way too self-destructive. I was jumping out windows and cars, etc. I can't remember that year. It was completely gone from me, 2005. So I can't tell you. But I can tell you what happened in the year 2008. Because in the year 2008, as I told you, I asked every single one of my students around Europe to give me everything they could find inside the world of popular science and inside the world of popular media that deals with artificial or alternative intelligence. And they found a whole lot of articles. And they found billions, actually, and we was reading through most of them, and scanning some of them and reading through most of them, and they said a lot of interesting things, but they all said sort of the same. But one of the articles that they summed up, the whole thing was written in The Guardian, and it says, computers to match the human brain by the year 2030. And you would say, why did you say that with some sort of American accent? Well, it was written by an American. So, it's all right. If there's computers to match the human brain by the year 2030. Now, that was in 2008. So if you subtract 2008 from 2030, we get the matching number 22. But as I said, that was in 2008. So now we write 2010, so we have to subtract another two numbers, and we get the magic number 20. And that basically proves, in an accidental manner, that we still, to this very day, say in about 20 years' time, the data machine or the EDB apparatus, the computer, will be so advanced that it potentially can outsmart the human brain. And this is much more interesting than who has the new iPhone, or who has the new iPad, who has the new this or that, or who has the blah blah blah, or who has a bigger internet connection or something. Here we have something that science keeps telling us since the 50s, that in about 20 years' time, it's going to be action-packed TV, rock and roll and all that, and nothing has happened. We still say in about 20 years' time. And that is, of course, interesting. So I decided that if utopia was gone, well, this might be a very interesting place to basically look back and say, well, this is a point where something was promised which hasn't been fulfilled. But this is a utopia, and since it hasn't been fulfilled, we could file it under a utopian dream, and therefore, potentially, we could say, this might be interesting. So I decided to say, stop! And I decided to say, well, now it's time to create an art form for possible artificial or alternative intelligence in the future. And most of my students said, that is bollocks. That is just crazy talk. And most people at the Royal Academy of Music had no idea what I was talking about. So it went another 4 years before the jail thing, which I'm coming up tomorrow. It's going to happen. But it was, yeah. And then, because it is freestyle, you can now decide if you want to go for the book or if you want to keep me here. Up here. That's how it is. Book or here?
Here.
Okay, cool, fair enough. You want here? Okay, fair enough. Okay, you're gonna. Okay. Now, so At that time, I was also teaching a little bit in this country, and in this country, guitar music is a big thing. And that's something. There's something interesting about English guitar rock and roll, and that is that it seems like newer bands have harder and harder to rock. Just a statement from an outside perspective, but it just seems to be more and more pathetic most of the time. It seems like it's not really. But anyway, I had some students which was the typical type of cans, that's all, little hats and things in London, and they all was like, why should we do that? Why should we correct? And why should we do something for an artificial alternative intelligence? Why should we do that? Me music is made for me mates. I make me music for me mates, and I play it down the top, and if me mates like it, then I consider it a good tune. And that's basically what I think about music, and I can't see why I should do anything for artificial alternative intelligence in the future. That's just bonkers. And that's fine, and that's beautiful. The only problem is that that is old world talk. And there's nothing wrong with these young people. They're just acting old world. And the reason why they act old world is because of the media. They see more and more old world actions. It's very simple. I've just been in New York, and I've been teaching a bit in New York, and every single rock act in New York talks about the Velvet Underground. It's like, come on, how cool. How cool is it to live in Williamsburg today and look like Lou Reed in the 60s? Not as cool as being Lou Reed in the 60s, right? There's bigger chances taken of being like first generation. This is just how it is anyway. We're not going to diss like young American rock bands. That's not really, but anyway. But they all talk about it. They all refer to themselves to, that's a new thing. New York didn't used to refer to, to its own culture. It used to refer to other culture. That was the thing about New York. But now New York refers to its own culture. London refers to its own culture. But you can't be in London without anything else. But you actually know that Johnny used to live in Holloway Road. Yeah, sure, I know that one. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, cool, lovely. Anyway, now the interesting point here is that is old world talk to say, why should I do anything for artificial alternative intelligence in the future? Because it is of uttermost importance that we, as human beings, start to, we have to embrace such a new artificial alternative intelligence. We have to give something to the being. And then my students would say, why should we do that? Very simple. See, there was a time not too long ago where the white man liked to beat other parts of the human race with a stick. These other parts of the human race didn't work hard enough in a sugar plantage. And suddenly the white man said, oh, it hurts on the other being when I hit the other being with a stick. And the white man stops. It's classic European history. And that's a human evolution. You get an idea and you go for it. That's human evolution. See, I used to live, lately I've been living in that box over there, but I used to live in Hackney. And living in Hackney, there's a lot of fancy, I used to live in Hackney for about 10 years ago, and I've also come back and lived in Hackney. And Hackney 10 years ago, and Hackney now is a little bit different. There's many fancy food shops. And if you ever go to a food shop in Hackney, you will meet people who say, is that turkey white life? Is that a white life turkey? Meaning, has the turkey had a good life before it's killed? That is advanced civilization. That means that the person is taking concern about the little turkey if it has a good life before it's killed. That is rock and roll. That is high evolution. That is modern civilization. And that's beautiful. Now, back to something interesting. See, imagine if I'm sitting next to this chair, and I am told that I am the cream of planet Earth. That's what it usually is told by if you ever read a scientific paper, it always goes like, the human being is the bee's knee of planet Earth. It's the top of the pot. It's the whoopsie daisy. There goes the it thing right through the, that sort of thing. And that's interesting. Imagine that I'm sitting next to this chair, and I want to explain something for you, and therefore I start to draw on the chair. Right? I start to draw on the chair. And suddenly the chair says, ouch! I didn't know that the chair could react like that, but if I somehow can sense that the chair states, oh, don't do that to me, who am I if I continue? I didn't hear it. Now I enter the field of evil, right? The first time I was just a stupid drawing on I had no idea that this was bad. But as soon as the chair somehow can communicate to me that I should do it, or it does not fancy that I draw on it, then potentially they enter a world or a field of evil, and that's a completely different lecture, but we don't want to enter that field, because that, I mean, that's, well, you don't want to do that. Anyway, so therefore it is of utmost importance that we as human beings, if we believe that an artificial alternative intelligence will come, and science is saying that, so why not? That we basically start to say, what can we give to such a being in the future? And that's basically where things started to go really, really wrong in Scandinavia, because of this word. Talk. But still they had no idea really what I was talking about, so therefore they let me play for another 3 years. And that's interesting, right? Okay, so to do this, I just thought that it might be interesting to basically say, what does an artificial alternative intelligence like? Back to the English rock and roll musician, he's like, well, I mean, an art form for me, that is something that I just love. It's something that touches me deeply, and it's something that maybe deals a bit with poetry. Excellent. Poetry. Place with that. Now, beautiful. Let's keep it English here, because I love this country, and I love a lot of the poetry of this country. Music. John Dolan. I like the part. From the highest sphere of contentment, my fortune is thrown. Excellent. I mean, that's romantic. Yes, fine. I like that part. Anyway, it's beautiful. From the highest sphere of contentment, my fortune is thrown. Come on, rock and roll. Anyway, that is fantastic. And that's interesting, and it touches us deeply. But, generally speaking, things in poetry that is really touching is generally things that we as human beings does not understand, such as love and death and time and the universe, things that's too big for the human mind to understand. Mathematics, physics, etc., seems to deal with things that the human mind does not understand, such as love and death and time and the universe, things that are too big for the human mind to understand. Generally speaking, what we as human beings seem to think is top-notch, is rock and roll, is the cream of the crop, the bee's knees, or whatever, is things that we as human beings does not understand. And therefore, potentially, I thought that why not try to do something that artificial alternative intelligence, hence a computer, in the future would not understand. And that makes sense. And then the typical guitar. Now we've made quite a bit fun of a typical Londonish rock guitar. But let's just continue. You gotta hit on somebody. Not hit. See, my English is terrible. You don't hit on somebody if you make fun of them. You hit on them if you want to go home and. Oh, anyway, fine. You gotta. Well, they can take it, the Londoners, so it doesn't matter. Or some of them can't, but that's the CC ones anyway. Now, the idea is therefore that we say, if that's exactly my thing, so why should I just not just play a little tune for an artificial alternative intelligence in the future? Seems to like it now. The problem with an artificial alternative intelligence in the future is that it might see the world very different from the way we see the world, and to that I have, there's a classic here, and mind you, this is almost the last time I'm going to do this, because I'm going to jail tomorrow, so I mean, this is the last time, so if you have seen this somewhere, this is the almost last time I'll ever do this. I'll drop the shoe and place it here, and I'll show you how an artificial alternative intelligence in the future sees an object by writing A up here, and B down here. And basically I'll show you, it will scan the object. Reading the object from A to B over time. That makes sense, right? As you can see, time passed while the machine was scanning the object. If you don't believe time was passed, you can look at your watch and I can do it again, but you kind of get the picture, right? So, that's interesting because time is something that an artificial alternative intelligence needs to understand the world. And since we, as human beings, can have an abstract idea of time, or that some of our most advanced sort of art forms, poetry, films, etc., it actually deals with an abstract concept of time, that might be one of the places we should start. And therefore, I created a school book, which I thought would be of interest for artificial alternative intelligence, which was a compositional book. This is a compositional book, and this book is the one that first got me kicked out of King's College in London, and also got me kicked out of the Royal Academy of Music in Denmark, and now also is going to get me jail. Entertainment for artificial alternative intelligence. Yeah, entertainment and or education for artificial alternative intelligence. This is the book. And this book is made to challenge 4 things. First thing is made to challenge is the composer. Composer. And the reason why we have to challenge the composer is because they generally don't like composers. You would say, why don't you like composers? Composers are negative people. They're like no people. I like composed music. But if anybody else say, oh, I'm a composer, I always get very suspicious of terrible people. And I'm a composer. Like, you know that feeling. If somebody introduces themselves as a composer, you're like, it doesn't mean you can like them in composed music, but composers have said, that's all it. So it makes a challenge to the composer. It makes a challenge to notation. Because I believe less and less people make notation, but more and more people does documentation. That's the difference between notation and documentation. It makes a challenge time itself. Nothing less. Time itself. And it makes a challenge the media. Which over here is proven that media equals computer. So actually the data machine or the EDV or the computer or the SPC or itself. So this is the 4 things that need to be challenged. The book mainly holds blank pages, and I saw that we in Europe would say when we talked about art, not that I hate to say art, the word scares me, but that was what I was teaching. But I saw when you talk about art, some respect, you said at least. There were certain things you said at least. I thought you said at least Dadaism, at least Fluxus, at least Jack Goldstein, at least Earl Brown, at least Morton Feldman, at least etc. And I basically saw that Cornelius Cardew, I thought you hear in this country said at least Cornelius Cardew. I mean, think of a certain thing you would say at least two. And therefore I thought that by releasing a book with blank pages, that would basically just mean that would be like in the world of modern art, that would be a thing. Hey, we're in business. Sure, I got it. Well, yeah, book blank pages. Sure. Okay, yeah. But yeah, we're in business. I mean, I got it. But this was enough to get me thrown out. So a book with blank pages, out of State College, too radical. And that's why we can start to talk about radical computer music. Now see, some of you might say, has the man no sense of time? And we're talking about having a different sense of time, but I do have a sense of time. And as you can see, there's some gear up here. And this gear is a man that's going to rock and roll right after me. And that means that you should tell me to shut the F up in a very far, not very far away future, in a very near future. How long is your set, young man? Come on, you should be like that. Now it's
I don't know.
Nobody, nobody, I mean, I'm starving now. So, I mean, it's a freestyle night, right? So if you don't say anything, then, I mean, no, you're a modest man. But you're a modest man, and you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't be like that to the Faroese or the Danes. You should shut the F up when you think it's time. So now every 5 minutes I'm gonna say, it's a time.
You can keep on going for as long as you want.
No, I can't. Because this thing plays two more. Yeah, there's 2 more.
Yeah, it's never going.
Oh, we're gonna close it to 12, right? Nearly. Fair enough. Now I'll round it. Then I mean I could go on forever and forever, but I would actually like to, since it is freestyle, I'll just show you very quickly how this works. But basically, we're gonna fast forward, and then you can go on the internet and check out more if you think this is of interest. It's the last lecture anyway. So where we are. I hope you get it on the camera because it's the last lecture. Anyway. So my point was that I didn't want to be a composer, I wanted to be a music maker. And the reason why I wanted to be a music maker was because I hated composer. So I thought that you should be the composer, and I should be the music maker. And therefore I created something I call musical objects. And this is musical objects. This is just a car. And if we're going to discuss if this is a car or not, I mean, come on. It's a car. If you ever played on a record player, it says as well. So there's hardly no timeline in it. I want you to relate to it as the object. I can talk about this for hours, why this object has no timeline, although there's a timeline in it, but when you see it, it is a car. And you don't have to have been able to read Kant or anything, I mean, like some German or pre-Second World War philosopher to understand that this is a car. And you don't have to you just have to say, that's a car. And you can see it's a car, and if you ever play it, it says the sound of a car. So it is just a car. Because it don't hold anything else, than the actual information that this is just a car. There is no side B to the object. It is just a car. Car, it says, and it don't say anything else than car. And because it don't say anything else than car, it is just one point. Just the information of itself, it is a car, but not an information of why it is a car or anything interesting. So it is just one dot, which is infinitely small. The reason why it's infinitely small is because it's just one single dot. And one single dot, as an association point, will be infinitely small. I usually talk about Mickey Mouse forever, and fascism and blah, 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 why this is infinite, but we don't have time for that. So you just have to accept that it is infinitely small. I can argue for a long time why it is, but anyway. So if it is infinitely small, then we can say it's here, and it says car. On the other side, we find something that was glued to my door in New York City. A musical object, which I didn't do, but somebody glued this musical object to mine. And what that musical object is, I have no idea, but I guess we can call it the X object for now. X object is glued to my door, and I don't know who made it. So let's just put it in here, although that's the first time we ever put that in. So this one is here. Now, something interesting happened, because we also have a puzzle break of wonder. And here we have a puzzle break of wonder. And it's just a puzzle break of wonder, and if you ever played it on a record player, it sounds like a puzzle break of wonder. Just a puzzle break of wonder. Right. So here we are. We also have the weight inside the Moonwatch. If you ever wonder what that is, it just sounds like the weight inside the Moonwatch. There we are. We have the essence of war. The essence of war here. That also is just the essence of war. If you listen to it, it's just the essence of war, and it starts to pull in that direction. See, something interesting happens because these are infinitely small objects, they start to pull. And since they are infinitely small, they will pull with infinitely strong power. Give me something interesting, and I can prove that by taking this. I don't even know what it is. It's called a funky cord. But that's like Australian. It doesn't. I mean, let's call it. This is the beauty of language. I mean, if I hold this and say funky cord, you know what I'm talking about. Also, we'll call it something else. Anyway, imagine that I pull with infinitely, a point with infinitely strong power, and what there is an infinitely strong